A drone has two unarmed men standing in the open. No cover. No obstacles. Nothing between the barrel and the target except air. It fires once, and somehow, both men are still breathing 30 seconds later. If you have not watched Silo Season 3, Episode 8, Grey Goo, stop this video now because we are about to take that scene apart piece by piece. Because here is the part almost nobody is talking about. The shot that hit Lucas Kyle did not miss. It went exactly where it needed to go to end a conversation without ending a life. Today we are asking a simple question with a very complicated answer. Was that drone strike outside Silo 17 an execution that failed, or a rescue disguised as one? Stick with me because by the end of this video, you will look at every malfunction in the show completely differently. Let's rebuild the scene from scratch because the show buries the important details under a lot of noise and static. Lucas Kyle and Patrick Kennedy step outside Silo 18 to reach the buried, supposedly dead Silo 17. Their job is simple on paper. Get the kids and solo Jimmy out and quietly figure out how Jimmy's community disabled the safeguard, the poison system that is supposed to make rebellion physically impossible. They are barely outside when the buzzing starts. Gunfire follows. The transmission back to Silo 18 goes dead mid-sentence. Inside the silo, the algorithm tells Camille flatly that both men have been neutralized. Not contact lost. Not signal interrupted. Neutralized. A clean, confident final word. Juliet's people take that word as gospel, because up to this point, the algorithm has never once given them a reason to doubt its surveillance. So the rebellion pivots. Instead of a careful extraction, they start planning something far more violent. Blowing a hole into Judicial to expose the safeguard pipe directly. A plan that risks killing half the people it is supposed to save. Then, at the very end of the episode, static clears. Kennedy's voice comes back on the radio. Both men are alive. That reversal alone should stop you in your tracks. A surveillance system that is supposedly all-seeing, built by people paranoid enough to design an entire underground civilization around controlling information, got the single most important fact in the episode completely wrong. Unless it didn't get it wrong. Unless someone made sure it would. Let's talk about what actually happened to Lucas's body, because this is where the theory either survives or falls apart. The bullet goes through the radio unit built into his suit. It wounds his shoulder in the process, but the suit itself is not breached badly enough to expose him to the toxic air outside. He is hurt, not dying. Kennedy is not hit at all. Now think about the setup. Two exposed men, a drone with height, angle, and a clean shot. If the goal is elimination, this is the easiest kill imaginable. There is no cover to dive behind, no structure to hide inside, nothing but open, rotting ground between them and Silo 17's entrance. An armed drone that wanted these men dead had every advantage and used almost none of it. Here's a comparison worth sitting with. Later coverage of this exact scene points out that the attack looks less like an assassination attempt and more like a communication strike. Something built to sever a signal, not into life. If the actual target was the connection between Silo 17 and Silo 18, then this was not a failed kill shot. It was a successful sabotage of information. Think about why that distinction matters so much to whoever controls that drone. As long as Kennedy's radio worked, Silo 18 had a live witness on the surface. Every gunshot, every scream, every discovery Lucas and Kennedy made after reaching Silo 17 would have reached Juliet's people in real time. The algorithm cannot control the story, while somebody with a working microphone is telling a different one. Destroy the radio, and suddenly the algorithm gets to write the ending itself. 2 clean deaths. Mission failed. Try something more desperate. That is not what a machine trying to kill 2 men does. That is what a machine or a person trying to control a narrative does. Here's something that rarely gets brought up when people talk about this scene, and it should. Juliet herself crossed this exact stretch of dead ground twice. Once during her original cleaning, walking from Silo 18 towards Silo 17 with a suit that was supposedly rigged to fail. And once again later, crossing back the other direction. No drone opened fire on her either time. If the surface defenses are simply an automatic kill switch triggered by any unauthorized human presence, Juliet should not have survived either trip. She did. That tells us these attacks are not random, and they are not constant. They are ordered, deliberate, targeted at specific missions the system, or somebody inside it, has decided are unacceptable. And once you accept that the attack was ordered rather than automatic, a much more interesting question opens up. Somebody gave that order, and somebody carried it out. In a show that has spent 3 seasons proving that every layer of control still runs through fallible, conflicted human beings, why would the exterior defense system be any different? Bernard didn't want to be a killer. He believed he was protecting his people, right up until he learned the algorithm had used that belief to make him complicit in murder. Robert Sims served the machine for years before his own family pulled him away from it. Camille is currently obeying orders specifically because she believes disobedience will get the people she loves killed, which means the second that threat disappears, so might her loyalty. Every single confirmed crack in this system so far has come from a person who was ordered to do something terrible and found a way to do it just badly enough. So why not the drone pilot, too? This is where things get genuinely new, and where I think a lot of recap videos are underselling how big Episode 8 actually is. Grey Goo finally answers the question this entire series has been circling since Episode 1. Why does a billionaire named Per Stenson believe civilization needs to be buried underground in the first place? The answer is nanotechnology. Stenson explains that unlike nuclear weapons or disease, self-replicating machines are cheap to build, nearly impossible to detect, and once released, effectively impossible to take back. He tells Senator Thurman that an enemy nation had already developed one, and used it on American soil in an attack the public was told was a conventional dirty bomb. That reframed Charlotte's earlier mission completely. Her flight into that strange, electronics-killing cloud wasn't really about retaliation. It was reconnaissance, checking how far the enemy's nanoweapon program had actually progressed, while a separate team worked underground to try to physically disable it. And here's the detail that connects directly back to our theory. After everything she goes through, after recovering pieces of memory she'd lost, Charlotte agrees to join the Silo project. Specifically, as a drone pilot. Think about the timing. The same episode that finally shows us a deliberate, selectively aimed drone strike is the episode that establishes, for the first time, that human beings fly these things. Not from the very beginning as some kind of coincidence, as a structural decision baked into the entire Silo program. Somebody, from day one, decided that watching the surface required a person's judgment, not just a machine's targeting algorithm. Systems get automated over time. Founding structures rarely lose their human fingerprints completely. If Charlotte helped build the culture, training, or doctrine behind that drone program, the person controlling the aircraft outside Silo 17 might be operating inside an institution she helped shape centuries after she's gone, but still following rules a human being once wrote. That is not proof, but it is exactly the kind of connective tissue this show plants early and pays off late. Here's a detail worth sitting with. If the algorithm truly believes the safeguard is unbeatable, why does it care so much about 2 men reaching an abandoned silo? Later scenes make it clear Camille is actively theorizing that Juliet used the rescue mission cover story to send Lucas and Kennedy out specifically to find a way to disable the safeguard permanently. That is not the reaction of a system confident in its own defenses. That is the reaction of a system that knows exactly what already happened once inside Silo 17, because somebody there already beat it. We now know why. Jimmy's mother didn't stumble into surviving the poison. She sealed herself inside the chamber containing the safeguard pipe, sacrificing her own life to physically stop it from finishing the job. That is proof, sitting inside Silo 17's walls, that the system Silo Command insists is unbeatable has already been beaten once by one determined person with a blowtorch. If Lucas and Kennedy find that evidence and get it back to Silo 18, the entire foundation the algorithm rules on, total obedience because resistance is physically impossible, collapses. That is worth silencing a radio over. That might even be worth staging 2 convincing deaths over if you're trying to buy the mission time without triggering an all-out kill order from whatever is above you. Now, let's not pretend this theory is airtight, because it isn't, and a good theory has to survive its own weak points. Counterpoint 1. Mechanical failure. This is centuries-old hardware. Batteries degrade. Targeting systems drift. A drone that fires once wounds a target, and leaves might simply be old equipment doing an imperfect job, not a conspiracy. Counterpoint 2. The system might genuinely have been fooled. Kennedy and Lucas going still and silent after being hit could be exactly what a limited sensor array reads as confirmed kills. Sophisticated systems relying on visual and audio data can absolutely be tricked by two men lying motionless in the dirt. Counterpoint 3, and this one's important. Even the recaps covering this exact scene stop short of confirming a hidden ally. Multiple outlets describe the attacker's intent as ambiguous. Severing the radio link may simply be the system's default behavior anytime it detects unauthorized transmissions. Full stop. No human conscience required. Here's the test I'd apply going forward, and you should apply it too as the final 2 episodes air. If we get concrete confirmation of a human hand on that trigger, a manual override, a falsified report, someone inside Central Command hesitating, the theory holds. If instead we get a clean explanation involving old batteries, dumb sensors, and nothing more, then this was never a rebellion. It was just entropy. The show has 2 episodes left to answer that. Farewell and the season finale, Troy, are what's standing between us and the truth. Going into these final episodes, keep your eyes on a few specific things. First, watch whether any exterior defense system hesitates again. One selectively aimed shot could be an accident. 2 starts to look like a pattern. Second, watch Charlotte. Her decision to become a drone pilot was framed as almost incidental in Episode 8, but this show does not hand out job titles for no reason. If exterior surveillance becomes relevant again before the finale, her fingerprints on that program are exactly where I would expect the answer to live. Third, watch what happens now that Juliet herself is in serious trouble, locked up with the safeguards still fully active and the rebellion's most dangerous plan only delayed, not canceled. Somebody up that chain of command is going to have to make a choice soon between following orders and living with what those orders actually cost. If this show has taught us anything across 3 seasons, it's that the biggest threats were never really the machines. They were always the people who decided, quietly, to keep obeying them. .so, accident, or the first real crack in the system that runs every silo. I lean toward the second, not because the show has confirmed it outright, but because Silo has never once given us a malfunction that turned out to actually just be a malfunction. Every failure in this world has, eventually, turned out to be a decision somebody made and hoped nobody would notice. Let me know your read in the comments. I want to see the counter-arguments, especially if you think I'm reaching on the Charlotte connection. And if you're following this show as closely as I am, subscribe, because we'll be back the moment Farewell gives us something new to dig through. See you in the next one.